Welcome to the Current Case podcast. We're a group of four friends discussing the latest current events as they apply to our everyday lives. From foreign policy to local events, we cover it all as best we can in a manner not restrained by the bias of the big media corporations. We might not always agree with each other on certain topics, but that's what makes it all the more interesting. Being able to sit down and have a civil conversation on even the most controversial topics is a necessity for a better society.
Hello there.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Current Case podcast. This is Season 3, Episode 6. Today, so much for the no soundboard rule. We banned the soundboard and now it's back again, of course. But today is May 17th, 2023. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe, follow us on Spotify, leave comments, and give us money on Patreon. Fuck yeah. Anyways, we're going to jump into it again. We have a full crew. Actually, finally, consistently, 2 weeks in a row, we've had everybody here for once, so... Ashton's already getting annoyed, so this is going to
Yes, you know how we agreed that we shouldn't overuse the soundboard, Matt? Now you're doing it.
The fuck is
Live Ashton opinion simulator.
Alright, well, we're going to jump into it. We got some geopolitical news for this week, and then some interesting article that really hits home to me that we'll also cover here. And of course, we'll go through our life advice as well that we didn't get to last week. But first, we have Lukashenko, rumors are, but I guess I should say it's also been confirmed by the Kremlin as well that he is of ill health. So last he was skipping major events that he usually attends, and the Kremlin said he is not feeling too well. He doesn't have COVID, but he is pretty sick. But yesterday, Belarus supposedly leaked pictures and a video of him, but people are saying it looked pretty fake. They didn't know when the ad was actually recorded, and also he kind of looked like a wax figure in the video. So I don't know if that was even of him. I mean, it looked kind of off to me. Probably AI, but regardless, Ashton, what are your thoughts here?
Well, I mean, Lukashenko has literally been in power Belarus ever since the collapse of the Soviet Union.
Yeah. So if he is actually sick and dying, what does this mean for Belarus?
Well, it could potentially mean a whole bunch of things. I know that before the whole invasion of Ukraine, there were actually some protests in Belarus against Lukashenko.
Oh yeah, I remember. Those were the 2020 protests when he won the election by 105% of the votes.
Ah, yes. The totally not suspicious 105%.
So let's say he is sick and he does die. What's Russia going to do? Well, what's going to happen to Belarus? Speculation time.
As it stands right now, I see kind of four ways this could possibly go. Way number one, Russia basically installs a new puppet in Belarus, and things continue more or less as usual.
Okay.
Option two, the people will rise up only for Russia to intervene and basically annex Belarus like they did to Crimea. Option three, the people rise up and Belarus actually remains independent and they can take a new course in their nation's history. Option four, someone else comes up and things more or less continue as usual.
Like another Lukashenko, basically?
Potentially.
Which way you think it's going to go?
At this point, I'm pretty sure that if Lukashenko dies, the people are definitely going to try and rise up to take over his place, essentially. But if that happens, either Russia's going to install a new puppet or they're going to take direct control themselves.
Okay. Yeah, I can see it. That happening as well. There's no way Russia lets it go if Lukashenko does get the axe. I mean, is it suspicious that I think he had a visit with Putin recently, then he suddenly falls sick afterwards?
Yeah, he was at the Victory Day parade.
Right. And then after that, he fell sick, so poison?
I don't know. I'm not sure why Putin would want to poison his closest ally in Europe.
I don't know, maybe he wasn't being as close as he wants, possibly.
I don't know.
I don't know, Putin's tea, though. I wouldn't taste that.
Neither would I.
It'll be interesting. However, I mean, one thing to point out, he just hasn't been seen in a while. I remember the Kim Jong-un rumors that he was dead back in like early 2020.
Yes, and yet he ended up still turned up alive.
Yeah, like every single like news station was saying, "Oh, Kim Jong-un might be dead. He might be a vegetable at this point." He's in the hospital. He's severely had like, what the fuck? Who the hell is out there?
Somebody drag racing out there, dude.
In our street?
Typical Harley rider.
In the middle of trying to record a podcast, and this dude's out here like zipping down the road.
Open up the window, start shouting at him. Get the fuck off our street! What was I saying? Kim Jong-un, yeah. So I remember those stories that he was dead, and it turns out he was, one of like the first photos of him reappearing, everyone was like, that's a stunt double. That's a look-alike. But it turned out his fat ass is still alive, so.
Hard to say if this might be the case with Lukashenko, especially considering how old Lukashenko is at this point.
Yeah, I think he's like 68 or something. I mean, he's younger than Biden, so that tells you something.
Still, like I said, he's been in power in Belarus ever since it broke away from the Soviet Union.
Right, the last dictator of Europe. So it's
outside of Putin.
Outside of Putin, yeah. So it's something to keep an eye on. He hasn't been seen yet besides these like supposed sightings, or not, I should say videos and photos. But again, they look kind of weird. He looked like a wax figure. I mean, would Russia actually, or Belarus, if he died, would they like wait to actually announce anything? Or do you think it would be like a announcement straight away?
I'm not sure. Most likely they might try to hold off as long as they possibly can. Mm-hmm. But if that's the case, then they're just going to be prolonging the inevitable.
Okay, so it's something to keep an eye on there. We'll see if we get more updates with that. The other real big geopolitical topic I wanted to cover today was Turkey's election. We haven't really talked about Erdogan. Is that how you pronounce his name? Erdogan, okay.
And I get hungry whenever we talk about Turkey.
Racist.
How's that racist?
That's racist. You're making fun of a country.
It's their capital, Jared.
Racist.
Istanbul or Constantinople.
Istanbul. I always say it. Erdogan. Yeah, that's right. It sounds like a Star Wars character. Is that racist?
More racist than anything I've said.
Honestly, people are going to find anything racist these days out on the internet.
True. That's very true, Ash.
Canceled.
Done. But we have an election in Turkey right now. The election the polls opened on Sunday, and it's come to a runoff election with Erdogan forcing a second round. He had a slight lead over his rival. I don't even want to pronounce.
Let me see.
Kilicdaroglu. I can't read.
Kilicdaroglu. I'm not sure.
Kilicdaroglu.
Hey, if I can hear someone else say it pretty well, I could probably match it.
Soundboard? The one time we need you?
But yeah.
He's not. Fuck off.
Either way.
Close enough.
Anyways.
Okay, so it's in a runoff election right now. Erdogan has barely beat his rival, so now it's going to drag on out like our election did back in 2020. So, I mean, CNN, I'm reading the CNN article, they were like very upset by it. They're like, here, Erdogan is probably going to lose this election, here's why. And then now they're like, Erdogan fails to win the outright election. I'm like, CNN, you were just predicting him to lose. Now you're backtracking. It's like, it looks like he won still. And most likely, I think he's going to win this election. Now, what are your thoughts? Yeah. Now, we haven't talked about Erdogan yet. What are your thoughts on him? Because he's been president since 2014 of Turkey.
Yeah, I know the way he came into power was quite controversial. He literally had a coup try to happen to him since he was trying to seize so much power.
Right.
Honestly, I'm not too much of a fan of him, especially since he made the whole situation in Syria even more of a clusterfuck than it already was.
Right. Now, I know.
Hello, how are you? I am under the water. Please help me. Here, too much raining.
What the fuck is that?
Titled Indian Under the Water.
So what? We're talking about Turkey.
Meme,
We're talking about Turkey, dumbass.
Anyways.
So, I mean, fuck, I lost my train of thought. Damn it.
Yeah, like I said, Erdogan's kind of the reason why Syria was even more of a clusterfuck than it already needed to be.
Yeah, and I mean, Erdogan, he has a reputation. I've always called him a bit of a wild card because he's pretty friendly with Putin. You could argue like Turkey's probably one of the few NATO countries besides like Hungary. Yeah, that's actually friendly with Putin. And I mean, some like Matthew said last week, I mean, I don't think it's fair to completely judge a president if you don't live there because you don't know the whole scope, the whole events.
That's why I'm not talking right now.
However, I mean, I will say you can still like read, and of course you can still like take in what's being said about them. And I mean, Turkish people, of course, will talk about them as well. So you don't want to like endorse a candidate outside your country. I don't think that's a good idea at all. However, I mean, I think it's still completely fair to judge another country's president based on their actions. So in this case, I mean, Erdogan, I think, has earned a reputation of being like a semi-dictator of sorts. I know a lot of Turkish people, at least some Turkish people, might not be too happy. I mean, this is a very close election. They won't be too happy to see him win again. And I think most likely he's going to win here, especially more recent controversies with his handling of that earthquake back in February. And his friendly stance with Russia as well.
Yeah. I think there's that, plus he's bringing up a lot of the territorial disputes Turkey has with Greece.
Does Turkey actually act on that, though? What do you think?
No, I don't really think it would be very wise for two NATO members to go against each other, especially when there's already another war going on in Europe right now. But it is something that I know was making the news before the whole situation in Ukraine turned sour.
Right. So, I mean, I think he says that as a political point a lot of the time. Like, he's like, oh we're going to do this. We're going to rally the troops, and gets his base all riled up so they go vote. I know he raised wages like by a significant amount like right before the election. It's like, why didn't you do that like any time? You had to do it right before. It's like, come on. But I see him winning. I mean, how do you see this going for Turkey if Erdogan does win again?
Well, I'm honestly not going to be too surprised if Turkey under Erdogan keeps doing more of what it's been doing as of late.
Mm-hmm. Is there any chance that Turkey would leave NATO?
I would say maybe, but maybe not. There are plenty of reasons for Turkey to stay as a member of NATO, considering they literally control the one way in or out of the Black Sea.
Right.
Considering they've also been getting I know they at least got one S-400, NATO reporting name SA-21 Growler, surface-to-air missile system from Russia, which is kind of like their most advanced SAM system.
Yeah.
But that mainly comes down to the fact that we refused to give them the Patriot out of concerns that Turkey has been doing with a lot of the Kurdish, when we were supporting a lot of those Kurdish forces in and around Syria. Mm-hmm. Either way, if Turkey does stay in NATO, it's still going to be even more of a wild card.
Turkey is just a wild card right now.
I'd probably expect more so Hungary to drop out.
That's what I was about to say. I could see Hungary leaving. He's practically in bed with Putin right now.
Yeah.
What's Orban? What's his president?
Viktor Orban,
yeah, that's right.
But going back to those Patriot Systems and other AA things, right?
Yeah.
Like the recent Russian strike trying to hit one.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know, you got utterly cock-blocked by a Patriot, which is a system of the U.S. Army, right? You have the motto, like, AA sucks. That's the Air Force's job. Mm-hmm. Now, imagine what, like, the U.S. Navy systems
Aegis system,
who love anti-air, think of what they can do. Russia sent their best against, like, our worst, and like, yeah, you suck. And this was also operated by soldiers who only, like, use the Patriot system for the first time as well. Like, they're just so out of it, they have no idea what they're contending with.
Yeah. I've heard some scary things about the Aegis system of the Navy. I don't know too much about its exact capabilities, and even if I would, I would keep my lips shut on that because, well, let's just say I don't think anything is going to get through to a U.S. Navy carrier if it's protected by some Aegis vessels.
Why is that?
Because those Aegis ships are going to... I know they have been able to snipe mid-range ballistic missiles and the like. And I hear they're actually going to be getting an upgrade to deal with upcoming hypersonic weapons.
Are they?
Hypersonic glide vehicles and hypersonic cruise missiles. That's just I don't know the exact details, and what we do have is all speculation, but I do hear that that's something that Aegis is going to get.
Damn.
Gotta love the military-industrial complex when it comes to stuff like that.
Oh yeah, brother, we have a new testing ground. Let's go. Thanks, Ukraine, for your contribution to the U.S. Army.
This is why it doesn't matter if we default on our debt. If we have the Aegis system and no one else does, it's like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, doesn't matter.
This says a lot about our society.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, boy.
We live in a society.
I think the Aegis system is cool.
Speaking of society now, kind of want to transition here to an issue that hits close to me. So nobody wants to work as a teacher anymore. No one wants to be a teacher anymore.
No, it's to be a teacher.
Oh, fuck. All right, all right, Cameron, put your phone down. This is serious shit.
Hey, I'm looking something up. Hold on.
Hey,
Bro, I'm literally looking at new tennis rackets right now. You can chill.
But, so, I mean, this is...
Don't make me say it, Jared.
Say what?
I don't care about your teacher shortage.
Oh, fuck off. This is a serious issue right now because, of course, I mean, if you have a child in the school system or you just care about education in general, then, I mean, this is something affecting, or that will affect or continue to affect all of us, just the teacher burnout. Found a pretty interesting article. I mean, I basically agree with what she has to say here. Of course, we'll link up the article in the description below. This was written by Jessica Wildfire.
Interesting last name.
Probably a pen name, I'm assuming. But basically what she says is there's a lot of teacher shortages. Of course, I'm in the school system right now, and I'm seeing that as well. And everybody's basically burned out. Right now, the United States, we're undervaluing our teachers, and it's been a long history of doing that. Like, teachers barely get paid a living wage most of the time. Back in the 19th, 20th century, it's seen as women's work and constantly trivialized, and nobody really understands what teachers actually do, and so on. So basically, burnout has gotten very real here in the past couple of years. I've seen that firsthand, from increased class size to students just constantly misbehaving. Like, I saw a video yesterday of a teacher getting slapped because a kid took his the teacher took his phone that he was using in class, so the dude, like, the kid, like, literally, I was a high schooler, like, literally went up to the teacher, like, give my phone back, bro! And then, oh shit, gotcha. And just literally slapped the teacher.
No way.
Yeah. And,
That's crazy.
And, like, as a teacher, what can you do?
We'll put the video up on screen for
Yeah.
you while we talk about it.
Yeah, we're going to do that. And it's like, as a teacher, like, there's not much you can actually do at this point. It's like, if you put your hands on the kid, you're probably going to get sued for assault or something like that. And parents just constantly complain about stuff. So whenever you're trying to, like, talk about a grade, the teacher or the parent will often just go above your head and go to the administration. And most of the time, it seems like the administration will decide with the parents, and you're fucked. You can't do anything else. So it's a big problem right now. Teachers are burned out. Teaching in itself, a lot of people feel like it's becoming a miserable just career to get into.
Miserable?
Miserable. Wait, what?
You said miserable.
That's a miserable review. And it's an underpaid career field as well.
I don't know, dude. I mean, kids today are definitely, like, not very behaved, and part of that's because of COVID, right? Like, it destroyed grown adults' social skills who had, like, known how to socialize. I mean, with these, like, impressionable, like, kids and even young teenagers, it's like you take them out of society, basically, right? You pull them out of society for that amount of time, and it's like what are they supposed to do? Like, at that point, the parent needs to, like, step up and, you know, teach their kids, like, how to behave and how to socialize. But it seems like they don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, they're just too lazy to do it. I object to the notion of teachers being underpaid, especially in Ohio, where the average salary for a teacher is $55,000 a year, which isn't that bad. Maybe it's worse in other places, but I don't know that paying teachers more will really solve this particular issue, because no matter how much you pay somebody, if the work conditions themselves are terrible, then they're still not going to want to do the job, you know? So something else has to probably change other than just, like you can't just, like, say, they're getting paid enough, pay them more as like a band-aid solution. It's not going to work.
Yeah, I think you've got a point there. It sounds like a multifaceted issue to me. Parents not exactly being responsible and teaching things that school won't teach them. Mm-hmm. Also, I think what you said, kind of relating to what you said about the phone incident and whatnot. Mm-hmm. I think another problem is because most people are on social media these days a lot, and they are used to these short-form content. Mm-hmm. The attention span of these kids is incredibly short as a result. So what are the chances they're going to pay attention to what you've got if you're going to be sitting there for 20 minutes or an hour lecturing them?
You need to say emojis in class, Jared.
What?
You need to just speak emojis somehow in class. Like
just start making like TikToks as like your lessons, just like instead of like making a full blown like PowerPoint slideshow, just like TikTok.
Adapt to the times.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a hot take from this author, by the way. I thought this was pretty interesting. So Americans think it's not about the money. She calls it one of the great ironies of our culture. Americans think it's great that some dude like Joe Rogan or Elon Musk can make a fortune off being an asshole. They'll launch a crusade to save them from cancel culture, explaining all the reasons why they deserve their money and how they're a misunderstood genius. They'll mourn the loss of Jordan Peterson from Twitter for a few days. Bring up teacher pay and their eyes burn. They'll tell you it's not about money. They love what they do. Well, I'm a teacher, so let me tell you, it's definitely about the money. Every single teacher I know has a second or third source of income, even professors. They're either married to a banker or they work a conventional second job. They have side hustles like they drive Uber, and she just kind of goes on about what some of her coworkers do as a side hustle as well. But as Americans, we accept the premise of billionaires. We celebrate it. We cheer for con artists and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's worse where she is, but in Ohio, again, it's $55,000 a year for like not even working the whole year. I mean, I know teachers do other stuff like in the off time, like during summer.
I didn't know you were a teacher.
Well, I'm not a teacher. I'm just saying, like,
classic teacher attacking anyone that's not a teacher, saying you don't know what it's like.
I know that teachers have to do like other stuff when school's not in session, but like the bulk of what they like mainly do, like the hard stuff, I'd say, is like actually teaching, doing the job, and like grading stuff, making lesson plans, all that kind of stuff, like stuff that they're not doing during the summer. And to make $55,000 a year doing that is like not that bad of a salary, I would argue.
Okay, tell me, do you know what the word pedagogy means?
No, and I don't care.
See, this is the problem with society. Let me tell you something. It's not
Let
just...
me learn you a thing.
It's not just like you can't just walk into a classroom anymore and be like, oh, this is what we're doing for the day, my way or the highway, and fuck off if you don't learn anything. Like, you can't just do that anymore. Like, you have to appeal to basically every single student in the classroom, and they all have their different learning styles and stuff. So you have to find unique ways to tailor their...
That sounds like a personal problem for a student. Like, if they don't get it, they need to go, like, figure it out, dude. They need to ask for... Like, they need to ask for help outside of class if they don't get it, dude.
But that's the
it's
problem.
As simple as that.
Like, there's no accountability, though. Like, if a student doesn't do well, they'll just, like, tell their parents, and the parents will just blame the teacher.
Well, maybe the kid is just stupid.
Maybe you both are. Like, so, yeah, $55,000. It's not a great salary, whether you're working a 9 to 5 all year round or you're being a teacher working, 9 or 10 months out of the year. I think it's very commonplace now that almost everyone in any given career is starting to think that they might need to take up a second job or side hustle or something else. I think it's indicative of the economy at large, not just a unique teacher issue.
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of for both of you. It's like, yeah, teachers need to make more. Everyone needs to make more. Mm-hmm. Because with the way inflation is going and everything else, either the companies need to cut their prices, which God knows none of them are going to do, or people need to make more, which is just going to drive up prices once again. So,
well, that's where I'd say, like, this is one of the few instances where I'd say the government, like, doing more would actually help. Like, the government has the power to step in and basically tell businesses, hey, you're charging too much for this stuff. You are directly driving inflation, and you need to cut it out.
What I think we should do, if the government gets involved, is try and find like the root suppliers, right? And what I mean by that is go from like a top down, all right, what are the major companies? Where do they get their supplies from? Where do they find their suppliers? Where do they find their suppliers? Like, go down and figure out, okay, now that we know the supplier list, let's focus on cutting these prices and go one step up. Okay, we've just cut these prices. you will lower it by this much, and you lower it. Because, with all these middlemen taking their share, as my grandfather said, pigs can pass, hogs get slaughtered.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, earn a living, make a decent profit margin, but you don't need to be making, 1,000% margin on some of these things when it has such a detrimental impact.
Is it really worth getting a yacht and a mansion if you're gonna be?
They owe it to the shareholders, dude. They have to maximize profit.
Yeah, that's a whole other issue we can get into at some point.
Yeah.
And never mind the fact that it's going to sink the whole ship for all of us. Better maximize those profits, dude. You owe it to the shareholders.
I think it's hitting a point where maximizing profits for shareholders is actually
detrimental too. I mean, it's hurting.
It's detrimental to said shareholders.
Yeah,
like they're over optimizing it to the point where like any more that they make is just going to harm the shareholders in the long run.
Mm-hmm. And Matthew,
no one's ready for that conversation.
Yeah, and Matthew, I do agree with you. Like the second income thing, like I don't think it's unique to the teaching field. As you said, essentially, it seems like everybody's hurting right now. It feels like everybody has to get a second job to make ends meet. But I will say here, this is a part I strongly agree with what she has to say. The burnout and too much regulation in the field of education, because, for example, she says you have states that are banning almost every aspect or controlling almost every aspect of education that's worth teaching. Like you have states banning math books for being too woke. You have bills that won't let you teach history properly. So basically, she also states that teachers, and this is true, have lots of bosses, including parents and politicians who are never satisfied with what you do in the classroom. They can't ever decide on the proper standard of testing, which, and this is true at the district we work at, or I work at, they seem to switch around the testing companies like every year. And of course, these testing companies tend to just make your job a lot harder and punish you if you don't get all the standards out.
Get rid of testing, get rid of Common Core, get rid of all that bullshit.
Mm-hmm. But that's a problem. You're kind of stuck with that. It's like you can easily say, get rid of that stuff, but how are we actually supposed to get rid of it?
It's ludicrous, dude. It's like you said, they're just regulating too much. They want to their finger in every pie, make sure it's going the way they want it to go.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like there's a reason for that, but let's not get into that.
Cameron being our resident conspiracy theorist again.
I mean, it's true though. Yeah,
Jinx.
But
what better way for a government to control its people than by having all these kids go to public school where they're indoctrinated with the government values?
It's absurd to test everybody by the same metric. Of course, there's some things. I think we might have talked about this before on a few episodes, but of course, there's some things that everybody should be held up to a certain standard of education. But testing everybody the same way on every little thing is not necessarily the best way to do it. Everybody, it's like you said earlier, everybody learns different. People test different too.
Right, and it goes directly against pedagogy, which of course is something that they highly value when it comes to becoming a teacher, a skill that you should have as a teacher. Having everyone take the same test, it doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, yeah, and it also leads to things where certain things are standardized and they're worth a certain percent of your grade. It almost becomes a numbers game, because I know for me, I would just blow off all my homework in high school, turn in the bare minimum, and then when it came time for a test, I knew that was 80% of my grade, so I just do well on the test and not even worry about the homework.
Precisely. I did the exact same thing.
Honestly, so did I.
And I think ultimately that's detrimental to the learning experience, because I did well enough to scrape by in German class, but I can barely speak a lick of German, so it's I don't know, something needs to change, make it actually teach the material, make it not just a numbers game.
Yeah, I mean, because they have to take a test at the end of the year that basically judges how well the district taught material and stuff.
Hello, do you speak Germany?
Sure.
What?
Hello, do you speak Germany?
So yeah, they have material to judge based on how well, the district performs and stuff. It's these kids aren't taking the test seriously. They're doing it at the end of the year. Half of them are checked out for the year, and they're rushing through it.
You just want to get on summer break again.
Exactly. It's you're using that as a guideline to determine how well the district taught material. That's bullshit. Why don't you just look at other data? So obsessed with data, but they don't even get the right data to actually determine student development in the classroom.
They're data maxing, bro. Just trust the system, trust the process.
Trust the process, bro.
Yeah, kids are not going to learn unless they're actively interested in what's being taught.
Right. And as a teacher, I mean, it's your job to make it interesting to them. Yeah.
Hot take, just homeschool your kids. You don't need teachers.
The fuck?
Still.
Don't send them to state-sponsored propaganda camps.
Are you alright with private schools?
Maybe.
Still, I will say, I do think parents also kind of deserve a bigger responsibility of helping educate their kids, teach them at least basic public etiquette and help.
They need to bring back like etiquette classes, like proper classes on how to eat, how to like speak, proper manners, how you should greet people. Like teach kids how to respect each other, because that's one thing that no one does nowadays. It's like manners out the window. Any semblance of respect for someone outside your group, non-existent. Then you go into restaurants and like, I swear to God, people under the age of like 19 straight up don't know how to eat food. Like the way they hold their utensils, like the way they shove food in their mouth, like who the fuck taught you how to eat? Like this is disgusting.
Yeah, parents need to take more accountability when it comes to stuff. Like,
For sure.
you can't blame the teacher all the time if your little Jimmy fails
Right.
math class. Like, it's not always the teacher's fault.
Yeah, I guess parents always do that to absolve themselves of any wrongdoing.
Right, they're like, no way my kid got suspended for punching another kid in the face for no reason.
Well,
That's cool.
I feel like, and kind of like to tie in with what Matt was talking about too, like these parents view teachers and just like service workers in general as like NPCs. Like they're not real people, they're robots. And it's like, it's a pet peeve of mine when people go to restaurants and they're like not polite to like the cashier or whatever. Like, you know, like even basic things like just saying thanks or please, like just be nice.
Right.
Like it doesn't take that much effort. It costs nothing. But when you view these people as robots and not real people, then it's like, what reason do you have to respect them or be courteous to them?
This kind of makes me worried about what direction our society's heading if this is going to become the new norm.
I mean, I got her point in the article too. I mean, we kind of worship like these billionaires who tend to be assholes to other people. I mean, Trump, for example, you got Elon, you got Joe Rogan, you got Biden. It's like we worship these people. We're kind of, some people look up to them as role models, and I mean, what's that say about us? I don't know.
Well, the other problem is we don't have any, shouldn't say any, we have very few strong male role models we could look up to nowadays.
Yeah.
Like, look at the difference in TV shows and everything else. Like, you know, back then, you had things like The Rifleman, you had Star Trek, you had, like, Captain Kirk, Spock, Star Wars, you had characters like Obi-Wan, who were all, like, strong male leaders, so you could, like, find good values in and try and uphold that level of masculinity. But now you have people like Andrew Tate, which we've talked about him before. I feel like he's gotten slightly better now that he's out of jail, but I digress. But you know, really, you only have people like Goggins or Jordan Peterson. It's slim pickings.
Right. You don't have much out there.
Probably. And of course, you have us. So if you're listening, in the top 1%. So there you go.
Yeah, we're your male influencers.
Yes.
But it's it's a kind of a scary time in the education field right now. It's gonna need a lot of work to actually fix it. Yeah.
I guess the only other place, the most important place that you could find, you know, traditional masculinity still is in the Bible.
That's true.
Yeah, like
I agree.
Like if you want to be a strong like biblical man, like read your Bible, like go through, do that. Like that's where you get your quality values from.
That's where you get your Starboy mindset from, dude. If you want to make it in the world, you got to have a Starboy mindset.
Starboy mindset.
Yeah. Dap up Jeezy boy.
All right. Well, that being said, I wanted to tackle the life advice for this week. Didn't get to do it last week, but I just wanted to.
Life advice: repent and believe in the gospel.
Word.
We're non-secular here.
Bullshit, we are.
But I wanted to talk about kind of just random addictions and really how to get over them. I'm not talking about like the serious drug addictions and stuff. But
Cameron.
What's that supposed to mean?
Last week I just started LSD.
No. Not that.
Wow, it's very nice.
But I wanted to talk about like more of the stuff people don't really think about, like video game addictions, like stuff that's very real though.
I don't have an addiction. I can quit anytime I want.
Famous last words. Like video game addictions.
More so just being addicted to dopamine.
Yeah.
Instant gratification.
Yeah,
for
like,
sure.
Like those type, like anything really, like the minor ones that just aren't given that much thought. So I mean, what stuff I've been addicted to in the past. I mean, I definitely probably was addicted to video games at some point, especially in high school and stuff. I'd rarely go outside and experience the sun.
Touch grass.
Yeah, I never touched grass much. I think
You still don't, but that's okay.
Yeah, fuck off. I touch grass a lot now. I think the news cycle is honestly like doom scrolling. That shit's addicting as well.
Yeah.
Social media, luckily I quit that, but social media easily, you can get addicted to that. I probably was at some point as well. Porn, hate to say it, but that can be easily something you get addicted to. I probably was in high school as well. Cameron, weigh out your addictions.
My
We're gonna
addictions?
treat us all.
I don't have any
Oh,
addictions.
fuck off. You have
No, I don't have any. I'm built different. You know what I do? I simply choose to not be addicted to things. People called me an alcoholic. Well, I haven't drank in like a week, so I have no problem. I'm not an alcoholic. I can stop anytime I want. Video games, I can stop anytime I want. I'm not going to though because I don't have a reason to. It's not hurting my life in any way. But I could.
Bro,
totally
look at you. It's
anytime I
definitely
want.
hurt your life in some sort of way. You need to go exercise, my dude.
I'm
Jesus
trying,
Christ.
dude. I would have today, but some people were like, "Oh, we need you to come here and do the podcast." So I
Well,
can't.
Ash and I
I
literally
can't.
played
I
tennis
can't
for 2
lift-
hours before the podcast.
I got off work at 1:30
Then why didn't you come play tennis or come disc golf with us?
because I don't like sports.
Okay, well, that's your first
I'm
problem.
gonna go outside and ride my skateboard later after I lift and take a shower, I guess.
Oh, but I'll do that with you.
Base.
I'm going disc golfing after this. Probably on my own, practicing.
Where are we going with this?
So, Ashton, have you found yourself addicted to stuff in the past?
Yes. The biggest one was gaming.
Gaming. How are you? Would you still say you have an addiction to gaming, or has it gotten better?
And it's gotten better, especially since usually there haven't been exactly too many actually great games that are coming out recently.
Mm-hmm.
There are still a few that I definitely play, but definitely not as much. And of course, I've got new activities to keep me interested, like disc golfing. And just today, as Matt said, he started to teach me how to play tennis.
Okay, nice. Matthew, addictions of your past?
We're waiting 2 hours later.
If you say nothing, you capping, bro.
Nah, he's just a G like me.
No, pretty much. Like, back in middle school, high school, like, I'd be outside almost all day. Like, I'd be skateboarding, biking.
Well, you were addicted to skateboarding. You were addicted to being outside.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But that's a good addiction to have. Like, I was super healthy. I was doing good. And really didn't play video games unless it was, like, cold and rainy outside, in which case I'd be like, I'll wait till it clears up to go do something outside. But, like, I definitely played a lot of video games. But I wouldn't call it an addiction because I'd rather be doing other things. Like, it wasn't the number one priority. It was a way to, like, oh, well, plan 1, 2, and 3 didn't work out because it's not nice out, so video game.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the most, like, really trying to find ways to deal with addictions, negative addictions, is trying to find a balance between, like, everything. Like, you have to kind of go against what society's telling you, because I look at, like, when Ohio legalized sports gambling, and they're talking about on the radio, oh, it's this great thing, sports gambling's now legal. I'm like, man, you're literally, like, fueling everyone's gambling addiction again. And people are going to
Oh, don't get me started on sports betting. That is
I know.
such a bad idea.
and
Like, you have these PhD types who are, like, analyzing all this stuff, and they're hardly breaking even. It's like, all you've done is go out and gotten a whole bunch of, like, tradesmen and, like, lower middle class people addicted to gambling.
Exactly.
Like, that's not benefiting society whatsoever.
And we're promoting it. Like, on the radio, they're like, oh, gambling in Ohio's now, sports betting in Ohio's now legal.
Mm-hmm.
January 1st, 2023. Download whatever app you gamble on, what's it called? Sports, something. I don't sport bet, but
Go sports.
go sports. But it's like they're promoting an addiction, literally. Something you can easily lose, and something you can lose all your money in, too. Forcing yourself into more debt.
I don't know. I mean, you can lose all your money on a lot of things. Video games, like we
That's
talked
fair.
about, nicotine, alcohol. But we don't demonize companies that make beer for making beer commercials, you know? So it's
Bud
an
Light?
interesting, it's an interesting comparison. And I think that sports betting, well, I don't do it. I think it's like a really dumb idea. I think gambling at all is like pretty dumb. It, in moderation, right? If you have the money to throw around and you are carefully monitoring how much you're putting into it, and you're putting in no more than some designated amount, then I don't think there's really a problem with it.
Yeah.
Other than I don't think it's a smart way to spend your money.
Right. Balance and moderation, I think, is a key word when you're kind of dealing with everything. Like, video games are fun to play. I mean, you shouldn't be playing them 24/7 every day of the week. Definitely find balance to go outside.
Yeah, and especially don't be playing games that don't get your blood pressure up.
Yeah.
If you're not having a good time, stop and take a break.
Exactly. I mean, for the more negative ones, like alcohol, for example, I mean, I would especially...
Dude, you used to be, like, fucked up with alcohol.
I was not.
Still, I
There's
think...
a reason why you don't drink anymore, Jared. I'm just going to leave it there.
I actually literally never got blackout drunk ever in my life. I remember.
Same.
No, actually, really?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, same.
I think you've been...
I got the drunkest I've ever been when I was in Florida last time, and then woke up the next day and threw up 3 times. So that was like my limit, but I wasn't blackout drunk.
Like, I've never thrown up while drinking, ever.
Well, neither have I. Not while drinking, but as a consequence of drinking, I have. So that's why that's part of why I've cut way back on it. I realized, I should not be drinking this much. And honestly, I feel better, I feel healthier not drinking as much, just like you said, moderation is key.
Nash, were you saying something?
Yeah, I think the main problem when it comes to solving addictions is that it's a lot easier said than done.
That's true.
Because in many ways, if you're still trying to get that dopamine hit, you're definitely not going to feel the same without it. I think, aside from finding other things to spend your time and money with, like actually going to see an actually good movie or hanging out with some friends at the park, I think a good way to start is basically do incremental steps of reducing your time, say the time you spend playing video games, and reduce it incrementally.
Yeah, reduce high dopamine activities. It's the first step. You only get so much. And once you hit that dopamine threshold, you're done for the day.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure if any of you guys have done a lot of stuff on the computer or anything else, you're just sitting there working or scrolling through social media, you hit a certain point where it's okay, I'm now officially overstimulated, and you feel like crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a point you reach where it's you're sitting there looking at your desktop, you're just on the main page, you don't have any windows open or anything. You're just looking at all your game icons down the line. You're
What tissues are on your desk?
I don't want to play any of these. And you're well, maybe I'll watch something. So you load up YouTube, nothing's interesting. You load up Netflix, nothing's interesting. It's I don't want to do anything.
You are absolutely depleted of dopamine. Nothing you can do.
It's at that point, all there is to do is sleep. The day's over.
You have to either take a nap, do NSDR, which we've talked about on here, which is very good at kind of resetting your dopamine baseline again, or you really just have to go to sleep and let it all decycle. But the trick is, the more high dopamine things you do during the day, the faster you're going to hit that point.
It's good to know.
Yeah, so really avoid going on your phone. If you really want to experience this, take an entire day, the day before, put your phone on black and white mode, turn off all your sounds on it, everything else, just have it on vibrate. Don't get on your phone. Don't listen to music. Don't do anything that would excite you or excite your dopamine receptors, right? And just see how much happier you are. It's remember, we're all the same age groups. When we were kids, think of a field trip, right? You weren't sitting there on your phone on the field trip the whole time. Nah, dude, you had a Lunchable, a snack, and you're all right, well, whatever happens today, I'm just here for it, right? And it's sometimes I miss that vibe of just showing up a lunchbox and be all right, let's see what today holds and just go through it. We used to live in the present so much back then, and then now it's just, deadlines, meetings, be on your phone, respond to emails, whole bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
people wonder why they're not happy anymore. It's go do something.
Yeah. I also think doing some exercise that might help increase one's attention span might also be helpful.
Any suggestions?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but...
Don't task switch. That's the biggest thing. Like if you're sitting there doing something, then do it. Ashton, you and I, if we're playing tennis, then play tennis. Be engaged in it. Don't like hit a couple points, go look at your phone, type emails. Okay, go play tennis, but go look at your phone. Play a point, look at your phone. Do something else, look at your phone.
Yeah, I was only checking the time.
Yeah.
But
Like people at work, if you're actively working on something, don't get up, don't talk to people, don't scroll on your phone for 5 minutes and then work for 10 and get back on your phone. It's terrible for you. All that task switching absolutely destroys your focus.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do something, sit there and just do it. It's really, really hard to put into practice, but I promise it's so worth it.
yeah, a lot of the videos I tend to watch on YouTube tend to be upwards of an hour long, and I just watch through them all the way.
That's good, without any other distractions getting in the way.
Yeah.
All right, well, in that 50-minute mark now. So with that being said, time to wrap up today's episode. Thank you so much for watching again. Please leave a like, subscribe, donate on Patreon, favorite on Spotify, and share. And we will see you next week.